Καλημέρα, παιδιά. Καλημέρα. Καλημέρα, παιδί μου. Δεν έχω φαγητό. Θα έρθει η κυρία τώρα σε λίγο. Για να δούμε τι ώρα είναι. Σε λίγο. Πρέπει να έρθει η κυρία τώρα σε λίγο. Okay, so these cats are waiting for... There's two ladies, actually, that pass through this path and feed them. I'm pretty sure she's about to come anytime now. She usually comes around this time, 7:30. You have probably seen her in many of my videos because I do these videos around this time here on this path. There's another one. Plenty of stray cats. They're pretty well fed. But anyways, this is not the topic of this video. The reason why I'm doing this quick video here is because some of you guys have contacted me. Some of you guys have sent me video links of other content creators that are doing videos, and they're as well sharing about their Greek life, expats here in Greece. And some of them I've known, some of them I haven't heard of them. There's people as well in social media doing content who happen to be Greek Americans. Some other people that are on Instagram, they're not on YouTube. So there's plenty of people who live here in Greece, foreigners, not only Greek Americans, okay, but there's a lot of foreigners here in Greece who are doing content, which I think is great, right? But some of you guys have contacted me and have reached out and, sharing their content and, the struggles of expats and foreigners living here in Greece. And, as I scan through some of the content, I don't have time to see absolutely everything that other content creators are doing and what they are about because I just simply don't have the time. But one thing that I realize as I am scanning through the content, both on YouTube and on Instagram, the main thing, the main struggle of foreigners living here in Greece is the language. And I have said this again and again and again. And even though Greeks speak English, still there are expats who speak no Greek whatsoever, okay, apart from saying Kalimera and Yasu, all right? And they have mentioned this, that, yeah, you can get along with, you can get by speaking a little bit of English because Greeks do speak very basic English. However, you will need to have a good knowledge of Greek. You should learn Greek, full stop, in order to communicate here in this country. That doesn't come as a surprise. Here in Greece, we speak Greek, okay? And I've been there. I've been there, my friend. Now, you might see me here talking in Greek, but, I've been there. Kalimera. Kalimera σας. So I've been there. I've seen the pains of others who are living here in this country and not being able to communicate. I've been there. There is just no shortcut when it comes down to learning a language. There is just no shortcut when it comes down to understanding a foreign language. So I have seen Greek Americans living here in Greece, creating content and learning Greek. And they feel the pain that, okay, I cannot communicate, man. And they're Greek Americans. They're Greek Canadians, and they're living here, all right? And as much as you want to deny the fact that, yeah, you can just speak English if you live in Athens or in a big city or whatever, you're still in a country where Greek is the language. And the common struggle is always the same. It all comes down back to communication. It all comes down to understanding. It all comes down to the ability to learn a foreign language, and in this case, is Greek. There's other topics, of course, that expats have mentioned and they have spoken about online, obviously, the usual ones, right? Like bureaucracy and all of that. I have covered all of this before here on the channel, bureaucracy and high unemployment and all of the rest. But language is, in my opinion, the biggest struggle of a foreigner in any country, for that matter. Good luck to you if you want to move to England and not speak any English, all right? And good luck to you going to other countries and try to bypass not speaking the language, all right? Here in Greece, there is a lot of foreigners, of course. There is a lot of people that are coming from different places. I mean, I've seen so many things here in Greece when it comes down to people trying to learn Greek and have seen how handicapped one can be when you don't understand, when you don't communicate, when you can't communicate, when you can't understand what is being said. Okay, and even though you might be part of expat groups, even though you might be part of different Facebook groups with expats and all of this, which is great because you can connect with like-minded people that are from different countries, and you can actually get together and not feel so isolated while living here in Greece. And still, you will need, or not you will need, because it's not something that you have to do, but if you truly want to feel less isolated in the country, then learning Greek will go a long way. Now, you don't have to speak perfect Greek, right? I'm still learning Greek, right? I speak very, very well. I mean, one thing that I realized is when I was watching and scanning through the content of some of the people that you guys have sent me, like, again, many links to other content creators and video makers that are expats living here in Greece. And I realized of how much Greek I actually know, because I realized that when these people are talking about the fact that they don't know Greek, and to admit it, on camera, and to actually say like, I don't know, then I realized that I'm so far ahead, obviously, in this expat life. But then again, I've been living here for 14 years. But even before that, I was learning Greek in England, because I was so curious about the language. I was so curious about learning because I was already exposed to Greece because of my Greek wife. But while I was living in England, and you have to understand that when I was living in England, I was with my Greek wife, but we were talking in English in the house. I was hanging out with Greeks, even back in England, and I will feel the frustration of not understanding what they were saying. And the same pattern happened even in England. I met Greeks in England that did not speak any English, in fact, my Kubaros, for example, he went to England to study to London, and his English is just non-existent. And if he's watching this, I love you to death, but that's a great example, and he's from Athens, okay, and he went to study to London, and I have no idea how he went through university, man. I have no idea how he passed the exams, and we're talking about university degrees here, okay? And I have no idea, So it was my job to learn whatever Greek I could in order to just hang out with him and try to communicate, half Greek, half English. And whenever I will speak English, he wouldn't understand. And that's a person living in England, okay? A grown-up man living in England, okay? Back then we were like in our mid-20s or whatever, an adult already. So this applies to anybody in any country, okay? And I understand the pain. I understand the frustration of not being able to communicate. For me, still, even though I'm still learning Greek, I communicate very well. I know Greek. In fact, when I speak, for example, with other people in Greek, some people, obviously, they know that I'm a foreigner. And depending on the person, they're just going to say like, well, okay, obviously you're a foreigner. Some of them have put a label on me like, oh, you're probably a Greek who lived abroad and now decided to come back here to Greece, and a little bit of Greek, or enough Greek to communicate and get by. But it's one of those things that it's a never-ending improvement on the language, and try to really get into it. But you have to have a love for the language. You must feel curious enough to just dive deeper into knowing what this language is all about. And, at the end of the day, everything comes from Greek, really. Most of the things that we speak today, and words and terminologies, come from the Greek language. So you're pretty much learning to speak, right? Regardless of what your mother tongue is. I do feel for a lot of people, I encourage them to learn to speak the language. You don't have to speak like a native, even though this is something that I teach in my course, shameless plug. But if you don't want to enroll in the course, you can just download my free guide, link in the description. That's absolutely free, okay? And you can just get started and speaking Greek, very basic Greek words and very basic Greek phrases, so you can start to communicate. One of the things that really frustrated me when I came here to Greece, even as a visitor, having a Greek wife, was the fact that I could not understand Greek. And that was back in the day when I was just visiting. So obviously I'm a different person than you, maybe. You probably say like, well, I'm not Greek. I'm not planning to move to Greece. So it's okay for me to come and travel here to Greece with my Greek husband or my Greek wife. And it's okay. I don't have to learn Greek. I can just get by with English. But for me, it was just I felt so handicapped because I was used to travel and just switch from one language to another. And, I speak Spanish and English. So whenever I would go to the States or England or whatever, or go back to Venezuela, it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to communicate because I speak both languages. And Greece was one of the first countries I traveled where there's a foreign language to me, and I had a direct connection to the country because of my wife, obviously. And that made me feel something that I've never felt before, that feeling that, I don't understand. I can't even go to a shop and buy something by myself, and beyond saying thank you and you're welcome or whatever, or how are you. So it is a feeling of like, okay, when you don't know, you don't know. It's very hard to come to terms with that, especially if you want to stay in this country. And yeah, you can get by, but hey, there's other expats, based on the videos that you have sent me, again, there's other expats that have Greek connections, but they have said it themselves, like they feel handicapped by being in a social environment and you have Greeks around you speaking you in English, okay, in order to compensate for the lack of understanding of the Greek language. And I understand that. That is a bad place to be, because that can happen probably once. That could happen probably, twice. But then if you stay here long enough, you're going to realize that, yeah, it would be good if I know some Greek, so I can just go and have a gathering with my friends and be able to communicate in Greek, be able to understand. But it all starts first with understanding what is being said. Listening is very, very important. I cannot stress that enough. I've spoken about this before here on the channel on how to start speaking Greek, okay? And the purpose of my teachings when it comes down to the Greek language is, of course, with the help of my wife, who's a native Greek. But at the same time, I like to help foreigners learn Greek from the foreigner's perspective, because I understand the pains of a foreigner trying to learn Greek. And depending on your mother tongue, your struggles and your pains, and when it comes down to pronunciations, are going to be different, okay? So, for example, I bypass English completely when I'm learning Greek or practicing Greek or even thinking in Greek, meaning that Spanish is more relatable to Greek in many, many ways. There's certain words that are exactly the same in Spanish as they are in Greek. So English as a language doesn't really come in handy to me as a person when I'm trying to learn Greek or when I'm studying Greek. I just throw English to the bin because it doesn't really help me when I'm studying Greek. That doesn't mean if you speak English, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to study Greek or learn Greek, okay? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that you have to use whatever tools you have at your disposal in order to learn Greek. And for me, it's Spanish, because Spanish is my mother tongue. So when I realized that Spanish was going to be my unfair advantage when learning the language, I just went all in. And I still do that, right? I still try to tap into that and say, English is not a language that's going to help me carry on with my Greek studies. It's Spanish, because it's much more relatable. It's much closer to the Greek language. Okay, and I guess it's the same with Italian and other various languages. But anyways, enough of this. Thank you so much for the love and support. Again, download my free guide, link in the description, so you can go and check out this cheat sheet that I have created for you, for the beginner, for the traveler, for someone who wants to, learn how to speak Greek. Okay, right now, how can you start to communicate in Greek? And by all means, if you see these content creators out there and you know them and you follow them, which I know you guys are watching other content creators talking about expat life. And yeah, these are content creators and foreigners that have been living here for very little time, maybe a year. Others have been living here for like a few months. Some of them, they haven't been here for 14 years, okay? Then by all means, send them my way, because I'm more than happy to help foreigners, learn Greek. I'm more than happy to connect with other expats that are living here in this country. And if I could help in any way, because yes, I've been living here longer than most of them, I'll go as far to say that of all of the content creators that are out there talking about expat life here in Greece, I'm probably the one who has been living here the most. That is creating content. I know there are other expats, there are other foreigners living here in Greece who have lived longer than I have. I'm talking about people that create content, okay? They have an online presence. That's what I mean by that, okay? So by all means, please send them my way so I can help them out. I'll be more than happy. Look at this. Look at the cats. Περιμένουνε. 1, 2. Πού είναι η κυρία με το φαγητό? Άρχισε η κυρία τώρα σήμερα. Πού είναι η κυρία? Εσύ είσαι όμορφη. Πού είσαι, αγάπη μου? Τέλος πάντων, παιδιά, εγώ πρέπει να πάω σπίτι να κάνω λίγο δουλίτσα. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, σας αγαπάω πάρα πολύ όπως πάντα. I'll see you in another video, my friend.